Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BI Edge. Today, we are diving into Australia's LNG export market. Over the past 7 financial years, from 2016 to 17 through to 22 to 23, I'll break this down into three simple questions. What happened? Now what? So what? Let's get started. Dashboard gives us a clear picture of how Australia's LNG exports have performed. So we can see here, these are the 7 different financial years that we'll be analysing, and we can have a bit of a look here. So from starting off here, 16, 17, we can have a look at the relationship of the total amount of tonnes exported of LNG and how much revenue the Australia made from exporting that LNG over time. Um, so if we just want to have a look at total numbers to start off with, the total exports over the 7 year period accounted for 510 million tonnes there of LNG. This equates to roughly 28,000 petajoules of energy. So revenue, this brought in an incredible 344.12 billion here in revenue. So if we look at that contribution relative to Australia's GDP, you can see that Australia is making a lot of money here in the resources industry. We know it's the biggest contributor to the Australian economy, and we're just looking at LNG alone. We can see what that contribution is and the importance of the trading partners here between Japan, China, and South Korea. Okay, so looking at trends by year from 2018 to 19, exports peaked at 8 million tonnes, or 80 million tonnes, I should say. So that's this one here. So, just that bit over that there. So 83 million tons. So, yeah, sort of they're around 79 million, 77, and then up to 83 million. There was a dip during 2020 to 21, just here. You can see that our revenue dropped here. In addition to the total volume being exported, which aligns with global COVID disruptions and weaker energy demand. We had a sharper recovery with record revenues in 21-22 here. This was a really strong upward turn for the LNG market. 71 or 70 billion there, 571 million, 442,000 dollars there. And then sort of having a bit of a look here, we can see that, 22, 23 went up again here, but the total tonnes didn't increase that much relative to how much extra money we made. So we were at 92 billion here, 70 billion here between these 2 financial years. And, it was the total tonnes there of whatever it was, 83 mil and 81 mil, actually decreased, but we made more money. So this is consistent here with, driven by higher global gas prices, probably as a result of the war in the Ukraine with Russia. So next we've got by trading partners. So that's just over here on our pie chart. So Japan dominates with about 138 billion there. So, 40% of the market between this particular period. If I want to come back and have a look here at 22 to 23, I can sort of go, okay, well, yeah, they're still quite up there. So, so we know that Japan, 40% of the market throughout this period. China follows here at 28% of the market with a 97 billion there. And South Korea at 38 billion. Smaller markets like Taiwan and Singapore combined sort of make up the rest. So if we have a look here You can see Taiwan's here and Singapore. So, there's still 11 billion made there. We're trading with Singapore, or exporting LNG to Singapore in that period as well. Okay, and Malaysia's there too. Okay, so what is that Australia has been exporting a massive amount of LNG, with revenues hitting new highs despite some fluctuations in volume here. Next, we're going to move into now what? So the implications of this sort of going forwards. So this brings me to the question of what happens next. So the data here tells us a few different things. Volumes are steady, but revenues are volatile here, um, because they depend heavily on global LNG prices. So this sort of comes back again to, Australia's focused on the resources-based industry. Geopolitical indicators are, one of the key determinants of the Australian economy and how well the Australian economy forms in the resources export market. Um, Japan and China, they remain critical to Australia's LNG industry, meaning our market is highly dependent on the stability of those economies and their energy policies. This comes back also to maintaining, um, a diplomatic relationship. Kind of comes back to diplomacy a little bit, with tensions between China and the US. There's a lot of pressure at the moment on the Australian government to manage those relationships, particularly the relationship with China. As you can see, just in LNG alone, there's quite a big contributor to the Australian economy. Global energy transition pressures could impact future demand. For instance, these countries accelerate renewables or nuclear, LNG demand growth may plateau. I'm aware that Japan has some nuclear, I believe. So, that can all, and depending on how they're going with their renewable energy projects, that can all affect the demand here. At the same time, energy security is becoming a bigger issue globally. The last 2 years prove that when global shocks occur, LNG prices can spike, and Australia benefits massively. This also means we are tied to a global uncertainty here. Okay. So just want to point out quickly here, total revenue by financial year. You can see that 22 to 23 we really made the most here. And, compared to when the oil price sort of dropped here in 2016, there's been a massive sort of change here in, the LNG export market, for Australia. So I guess you're probably thinking, so what does all of this mean for Australia? So first, LNG is now one of our most valuable exports, sitting alongside iron ore. It's not just an energy story, it's a core part of the Australian economy. Second is policy decisions matter. Balancing export commitments with domestic energy security will continue to be a hot debate because while exports bring revenue, Australians also need affordable and stable gas supply at home. And third, geopolitics is key. So the geopolitical landscape, our reliance on a few major trading partners such as Japan, China, and Korea make LNG both an economic strength and a strategic vulnerability. For investors, policymakers, and anyone interested in the future of Australian energy, LNG will continue to be a space to watch closely. So a few key points just to point out here. I can filter this out by trading partner now, and I can actually have a bit of a look. Okay, how much have we made from China here? Okay, you can see what we've exported, um, the revenue, obviously, total exports in petajoules. Okay, so that's 9,141. You remember that from the last video that our domestic consumption is about 1,000 at household level in terms of energy consumption in petajoules. So that kind of gives you a bit of paints the picture there. And we can sort of see here that 21, 22, 22, 23, there was quite a lot of money there being made. If we have a look at India, you can sort of have a look, okay, not too heavily reliant. Japan here was another big one. So we've exported between 2016, the 17 financial year and 22, 23. We exported 200 million tons of LNG. That's 11,000 petajoules of energy. And then you can see the number here. Okay, so we're really powering these countries here. I just want to have a look at Singapore if I can. That was a smaller player, but you can see that we had a couple of years where we didn't export to Singapore, but the last sort of um, they don't pop up in 22, 23, but still made 11 billion there from even a smaller player in the Australian export market in the LNG sector. So that's just a snapshot there, guys. So if you found this breakdown useful today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos where I analyze the numbers behind Australia's energy and mining markets. Thanks for watching the BI Edge and see you next time.